At the moment, Dodge is going through a bit of a change. The V8 Charger and the V8 Challenger are gone. The Durango is probably not far behind them. And that new half-electric, half-gas-powered Charger is still not here yet. So for the time being, the only new product that Dodge has to offer is this Hornet. So what's it like? Let's go for a drive and find out. You can get the Dodge Hornet with one of two engines. The base engine is a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder, which is actually pretty powerful for a base engine. Definitely more powerful than some of the base engines that you get in competitor vehicles. The other powertrain that you can get is a plug-in hybrid, which is what this one is. At the heart of it is a 1.3-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder, which on its own is actually pretty peppy. It produces 177 horsepower and 199 pound-feet of torque. This engine is aided by two electric motors, one on the engine and one powering the back wheels. So yes, this plug-in hybrid Dodge Hornet has an E all-wheel drive system, just like many Toyota vehicles. Combined, the total system output is 288 horsepower and 383 pound-feet of torque. Dodge says that this car will go from 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in 5.6 seconds. So very stereotypical for a Dodge vehicle to be quick in a straight line. Thanks to the instant response of the electric motors, the car provides a good kick to the backside whenever you put your foot down. If there's any turbo lag from the turbocharger or slow response from the transmission, it's all hidden by the torque of the electric motors. There's also an overboost function which Dodge calls power shot. At the pull of both paddle shifters, the powertrain will deliver an additional 30 horsepower for a few seconds. Then there's a 15-second cooldown period before the car will allow you to use that function again. But if you don't need all that power and you don't need to go really fast in a straight line, then you can just set this car into electric mode and have up to 53 kilometers of electric-only driving range. In the real world, you really can get up to 53 kilometers of electric-only driving range, as I managed on one trip. But on another trip, I managed to squeeze out 57 kilometers of all-electric driving range from the 15.5 kilowatt-hour battery. Both times that I drove only on electricity, I had the climate control running, and both times involved mostly city driving with a little bit of highway driving. Should you want to save this electric driving range for later use, then you can switch the car into e-save mode. You have two options with that mode, however. One is just to hold the battery charge at whatever state it's at, and the other is to get the engine to charge up the battery. The engine can charge up the battery up to 40%, 60%, or 80%, depending on what you set it to on the infotainment screen. However, like many other plug-in hybrid vehicles that have this option, it will use up more fuel when you set it to this mode. On the flip side, if you just tell the engine to hold the battery, then it will behave like a traditional self-charging hybrid, as in it'll run most of the time on the gas engine, and then from time to time it will shut off and let you run just on a little bit of electricity, but only for very brief periods. In this mode, the car is rated to return up to 8.1 liters per 100 kilometers in a city and also on a highway. However, on one trip, I managed to get 6 liters per 100 kilometers. Maybe I have a light foot, I don't know. A couple more things to mention about this plug-in hybrid powertrain. If you're driving in electric mode, then you can put your foot all the way down and the engine will not start. Also, you can drive up to 135 kilometers an hour in this electric mode. And finally, hybrid mode is pretty much the same as it is in every other PHEV. That is, you drive mostly on electricity unless you put your foot down a little bit harder, then the engine turns on. But if you're light on the throttle, then the car will just continue to use the electricity until the battery is depleted, at which point the engine will automatically turn on and it'll just drive like a normal self-charging hybrid. The battery can be recharged from a normal wall socket or a level 2 charger. From a household 120 volt socket, it should take about 8 hours to fully replenish the battery. From a level 2 charger, it can be recharged from 0% to 100% in about 2.5 hours. The Dodge Hornet can slow down quickly thanks to the Brembo 4-piston front calipers, which provide the majority of the stopping force. The Hornet has a brake-by-wire system, which means that the brake pedal actuates a sensor, and the ECU provides the appropriate braking force to the calipers. The brake pedal feels normal under regular driving conditions, but it can be a bit devoid of feel under harder or emergency braking situations. The braking system also recuperates some energy for the battery. The car does not have a one-pedal driving mode, and the regenerative braking cannot be adjusted on the fly. It does change when the car is switched to sport mode, with more regen braking applied when your foot is off the throttle pedal. Additionally, the car automatically applies more regen braking force when driving down a steep hill, even in the normal drive mode. Around twists and turns, the Dodge Hornet is a pretty fun little crossover. It doesn't provide quite the same level of enjoyment as the Mazda CX-30, but it's definitely more entertaining to drive than something like the Toyota Corolla Cross or Hyundai Kona. You can option the Hornet with the Track Pack, which adds dual mode adaptive suspension. These dampers firm up in sport mode, but they don't completely get rid of body roll through corners. Steering is precise, but like many other electro-assisted steering racks, there isn't much feel as to what the front tires are doing. However, it does provide a little bit more feel than some other compact crossover SUVs in this class. Now, this wouldn't be a completely honest review if I didn't tell you the two little issues that I encountered with this Dodge Hornet. Firstly is the tire pressure sensor. It thinks that one of the tires doesn't have any air in it, even though it is reading the correct tire pressure both when cold and when hot. The other issue is with the check engine light and the sport mode. A few days later, it came on and sport mode stopped working. Now, these two things aren't really that big of an issue because the car still works just fine, but if I was an owner, I would be annoyed at the fact that I would have to return this car to the dealership to get it fixed. But again, these are just two things that I've noticed while driving this car for the past week. If you are an owner of a Dodge Hornet, how has your ownership been, both good and bad? Please let us know in the comments. When being driven around whilst using only electricity, the Dodge Hornet is a little bit quieter than some of the more traditional compact crossovers it competes against. Most of the noise that intrudes into the cabin is road noise from the tires, but it's not overly intrusive. When the engine turns on, the transition is seamless, and under normal driving conditions, it's not obnoxiously loud. On the inside, the 2024 Hornet is roughly the same size as the Hyundai Kona. For my 6'4" height, there is ample headroom and legroom in the front seats. Visibility is good out the front, side, and in the blind zones, but the unique rear window design and the rear seat headrests impede the view out the back. In the rear seats, I fit snugly behind my tall driving position. My knees are digging a bit into the back of the front seat, but thankfully it is made out of soft leather instead of hard plastic. Headroom, however, is not so good for my above average height. My hair is right up against the headliner. In those back seats, there are a couple of air vents and a couple of USB ports for device charging. There's also a trunk pass-through when you fold down the center armrest. Speaking of the trunk, it's on the narrow side. This plug-in hybrid version has 648 liters, whereas the non-hybrid version has a little bit more space. With the rear seats folded, it's the same story. This PHEV has 1,430 liters of space, whereas the non-hybrid has just over 1,500 liters of space. Under the trunk floor, there is a small cubby for the charging cable, but you will not find a spare wheel in this PHEV. This Dodge Hornet does not come cheap. It has a starting price of around $41,000 Canadian. That is quite a bit more expensive than some of its more direct size competitors such as the Kia Seltos, Mazda CX-30, or Toyota Corolla Cross. However, for that base price, you're getting a very powerful base engine, whereas in the other cars, you don't get that powerful of an engine. You have to move up in the trim levels to get it. This plug-in hybrid version is quite a bit more expensive with a starting price of $55,745 Canadian and the RT Plus starting at $61,745 Canadian. These prices are without any dealership fees or taxes and before any sort of government rebates. But for the higher price tag, the 2024 Hornet can be equipped with a lot of convenience features. On this RT model, The seats are covered in perforated Alcantara with red accents and are heated in the front. The RT Plus trim adds leather upholstery with the addition of ventilated front seats. There's also a heated steering wheel, dual zone automatic climate control, a wireless phone charging pad, a power sunroof, surround view cameras, a 10.25-inch infotainment screen with Uconnect 5 system, a 12.3-inch customizable driver display, and an available 14-speaker Harman Kardon audio system. This car also makes use of its parking sensors by not only alerting the driver to obstacles around the car, but they can be used to park the car itself. However, unlike some other systems in other vehicles, this car does require other vehicles around it in order to know where to park. It cannot read the lines on the asphalt and then park in between them like a Lexus RX or BMW i5, for example. With this car sharing the same platform as the Alfa Romeo Tonale, the interior is very similar between the two cars. This Hornet has the aluminum column-mounted paddle shifters, an Alfa Romeo steering wheel, and the same physical climate controls. The only item that feels like a traditional Dodge product is the gear selector, which doesn't feel quite as premium as the rest of the cabin. Much like the interior, the exterior has the same rough shape as the Alfa Romeo Tonale, but the details are very much Dodge. It has standard LED headlights with unique LED daytime running lights, the Dodge logo is illuminated around the back, and the red Brembo calipers stand out behind the black 20-inch wheels. Overall, the Dodge Hornet does feel a little bit more like a European car of which it is based on rather than a more traditional Dodge product that we've grown accustomed to. It is still quick in a straight line, but it's also pretty good to drive around corners, it's efficient, and the interior is not that bad either. What about the reliability then? Well, I can only comment on what I have experienced, so I'm relying on you, the owners, to let me and others who are watching this video know what it's like to own a Dodge Hornet. So again, please comment down below with your experiences, both good and bad. So having said all that, should you buy this car? Well, I wouldn't go for this PHEV because it just costs too much money. You're getting better value for your money with the Ford Escape PHEV and even the Toyota RAV4 Prime. What about the non-hybrid version then? Well, again, the starting price is still more expensive than something like the Kia Seltos, Hyundai Kona, Mazda CX-30, and so on. But you do get a more powerful engine with the base version of this car than you do with the base versions of those other cars. And with those other cars, you do need to move up in the trim levels to get similar power figures as this, if they even offer it. So this car sits in a weird part of the market, and it comes down to what you need more. A powerful and decently fun to drive car, or something that just gets you from point A to point B and is less expensive. Up to you. In the meantime, if you would like to know more about this 2024 Dodge Hornet RT, I have a more detailed written review of it over on my website. You can find that link in the video description or click on the pop-up banner right up here. And as always, I will see you in the next car or truck or most likely another SUV like this one. Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video and see you in the next one.